कृत्या नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टाप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरि ओम तत्सत्। So, chapter 8, attaining the supreme, verse number 28. वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वम् इदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानम् उपैति चाद्यम् वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वम् इदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानम् उपैति चाद्यम्। वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वम् इदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानम् उपैति चाद्यम्। Word to word. Vedeshu, in the study of the Vedas, Yagneshu, in the performances of yajna, sacrifice, tapassu, in undergoing different types of austerities, also, eva, certainly, daneshu, in giving charities, yet that which punya palam, result of pious work, pradishtam, indicated, atyeti, surpasses, tat sarvam, all those, idam, this, viditva, knowing, yogi, the devotee, param, supreme, sthanam, abode, upaiti, achieves, cha, also, adyam, original. Translation by Javan Gesesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Gopal ki jai. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not deprived of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Repeat. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Purport, long purport, very important. Very finer points are being made by Srila Prabhupada. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into the household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, in ignorance, as described in Bhagavad Gita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forest, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of the brahmacharya, householder life, vanaprastha, and finally sannyasa, one becomes elevated to the perfection stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahma Jyotir or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literatures. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotion service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam viditva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand this chapter not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in the association with devotees. Chapter 7 through 12 are the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. The first and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of those activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it stated clearly that the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee, fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement, what did I do? By advancement in the association of devotee, one is placed in devotional service, and the service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfection stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Golok Vrindavana, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Mangete Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Devatarinam Pramanam Tamadavam Sri Chaitanya Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Krupa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupak Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta ki jai. Thank you all for joining. So, this verse will quickly cover the summary of, because this is, as Prabhupada said, a summary of 7th and 8th chapters. We'll quickly cover the high level overview of this 7th and 8th, the sections. And then we'll try to take examples of this studying the Vedas and the Yajnas, few examples from Srimad Bhagavatam, the comparison, and indirectly what it is instructing us, what to avoid, what not to do. So first let's understand from the chapter 7. So in this verse there are 5 things, very important points are made. First one is Vedeshu, second is Igneshu, third is Tapassu, fourth is Daneshu, and the fifth is Punya Phalam. So the studying the Vedas, Vedic literatures. Second is Igneshu, third sacrifices. Third is the Tapas, austerity. Fourth is the charity, Daneshu. And then the Punya Phalam, pious, fruitive activities, philosophical speculation. So these are the 5 things still, but those who are performing devotional service, he will surpass all these. He doesn't need to endeavor for these 5 things separately, automatically he surpasses, not even getting the results, but even further surpasses Atyeti. So, as Bilomangal Thakur is giving that clearly, um, Bhagavan Bhagavan Stiratara Vai Bhagavan Syad Divya Kishora Murti Daivena Palat Divya Kishora Murti Bhagavan Syad Dharmartha Moksha Moksha Samaya Pratiksha. So one who is performing fixed up devotion service. Daivena Palate Divya Kishora Murti the Bhagavan Syad. So then automatically Dharma Artha Kama Moksha, which is the ultimate result of those who are after these fruitive activities, the ignorance, austerities, different types of people are doing different things, but ultimate goal is Dharma, Artha, Kama, finally Moksha, liberation. So those are automatically given. Beyond that, we get Krishna Prema, Pancham Purushartha also, so by performing beautiful. So these are the 5 things we'll try to understand. So 7th chapter, in essence, it is explaining the nature of the Krishna consciousness and opulences, first level of opulences, because these opulences will go on. Especially 7th is just a preliminary opulences given, how to remember Krishna, at least directly what we do on a day-to-day basis, what we see. So that has been given. On 9th and 10th, 10th is much more elaborate opulences are given. But 7th is the beginning. And that's the nature of Krishna consciousness that is talked about. So 7th chapter has 6 sections. The 1 to 3 is knowing Krishna just here, understanding the power and sweetness of Krishna. 4 to 12 is material and spiritual energies. 13 to 14 is Lord Krishna controls 3 modes of material nature. And living entities are under overwhelmed with, and one must overcome by that. So 15 to 19 is 4 kinds of people surrender and 4 do not. Impious never surrender and pious do. And then 5th section is 20 to 25, demigod worship and impersonalism. And verse number 26 to 30, the last section, is bewilderment and freedom by knowing Krishna. This is the 7th chapter. So, the 7th chapter, the conclusion of 7th chapter, basically, one who understands the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, we will come to that perfection, conviction, that full determination that all the objectives will be fulfilled by simply engaging in devotion service. Dudha Vrata, Krishna conscious devotion, especially starting with the hearing. So we'll come to that point from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining that in Chaitanya Charitamrita about this. What is the ultimate goal or the end result or the conclusion, culmination of Vedanta philosophy? As the first point, Vedeshu is mentioned, how by Krishna consciousness, how we attain. So that has been mentioned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's why in the 7th chapter, if you look at it, so first stress is given about the same thing, knowledge of the absolute itself. The point is being made about this Vedeshu. Are we interested in para or apara? So there Krishna is talking about this first aspects itself. Bhumirapo, those 8 things, 8 energies are inferior, apara. And then para means superior. Living entity is superior than this earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence, power, ego, gross and subtle. These both are inferior. Living entity, the spirit soul is superior. So one must always look for the superior things. We'll go through the few examples and understand what does it mean really. It boils down to even day to day. Even the example of cell phone will come to that. So that Krishna is preliminary. So basically, knowledge of the absolute para and apara Veda. That's the absolute truth means here. Chapter 7 is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So that's why Lord Krishna is showing that what is inferior, what is superior, so that we can, in our life, in terms of our priority, in terms of our job, in terms of our duties, everything we look at in this lens. Para, apara, inferior, superior, what must be given precedence, at what rate. So all those things we have to understand and then change our lifestyle accordingly. That is the idea. It's not just a theory and we don't implement in our life, then it's not going to help us. So that we'll go through in the examples also. We see that what has happened. One who didn't apply, simply going through the studying the Vedas. So that is the first and foremost point Krishna is making through the 7th chapter. Come to the important aspect. Give priority to the superior aspects, not to the inferior. Don't be attracted by this inferior energy, material prakriti. Rather, come to the internal energy. That's what Krishna is making that point. And then Krishna is making the point, how will you come to me? Think of me by simply remembering the natural resources of taste of the water, the smell of the earth, the power of a man, all these opulences, all these are coming from me. But by simply seeing that the sun and moon, all these are my opulences, so it is coming from me. So Lord Krishna is making that point, so that by naturally by tasting the water we can remember. If we can do that, then at least in that way naturally we can come to Krishna. And that is the first and foremost point Lord Krishna is making. Then gradually is going discussing about the 3 modes of material nature. As in every chapter this is being discussed, because that is the reason we are here in this material world. We are influenced with these 3 modes. And then the 4 kinds of people who surrender and 4 do not. Those who are Sakama Bhaktas are being described. And also demigod worship is being described, so that we know what is absolute, what is not absolute. And we'll come to the example of also how the demigod worshippers, the actual demigod themselves, what they are saying. We are after demigod, some are after this worshipping demigod, but what exactly demigods are saying, that we will know clearly. So then we understand what we are supposed to do. So that's a 20 to 25. There itself, Lord Krishna is stressing, even though somebody is worshipping, at least we have the different grades of people. Not everybody is at a higher level. Somebody is at a ABC level. So for them, at least they are approaching demigod, my representatives. So then let them approach. I am giving, strengthening their faith. I am the one who is Paramatma. I am giving even the boons. I am giving permission to demigod. Otherwise, they not independent to give this permission anyway to them. So that point clearly, Lord is making that point. Then finally, the bewilderment and freedom by knowing Krishna. That is the last section. In this way, nature of Krishna consciousness, and finally making beginning point and ending point. Finally, Lord Krishna is making that. So come to that devotional service. Give up these inferior aspects and come to the superior aspect. That is the chapter 7. And then the chapter 8, we see that 6 sections are there. 1 to 4, Lord Krishna's replies to Arjuna's questions. Because at the end of 7th chapter, we see that he's asking Adi Brahma, Adi Yajna, Adi Daiva, Adi Bhuta, these 4 aspects, technical terms Lord Krishna uses. Then that's why he's asking those questions in the 8th chapter beginning. Then the second section is 5 to 8, remembering Lord Krishna at the time of death. And then the 9 to 13 is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. 9 to 13 is pure. Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Remembering Krishna through practice of meditation. So those who are yogis who follow this process of asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, those 8 steps. And then the 14 to 16, 4th section is remembering Krishna through the bhakti process. And then section number 5 is 17 to 22. Comparison of material and spiritual worlds and glories of the supreme abode. Then the last section is 6th section is 23 to 28. Supremacy of pure devotion in attaining Krishna. So in an essence, the 8th chapter is talking about how to attain the supreme position of Ananya Bhakta, unalloyed pure devotee. Not even Sakama Bhakta, unalloyed pure devotee. Among all devotees has been clearly indicated, supreme position of them. Now, so let's look at what the first point is being made here is Veda. So, or before even that, we want to understand why the inferior and superior aspects. If we take a look at the inferior and superior aspects, we have to give up, just like the Narada Muni is giving that example in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam itself. There are different kinds of nature has influenced the different species of life with different mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. There, Narada is giving that. Nayad vachas chitra padam hare yesho jagat pavitram pagnunit karachi tadvaisam tirtam usanti manasa nayatra hamsa nirmanti usikshaya. This is a comparison of giving the crows and swans. Similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men, for different mentality. Mostly the market literature would attract the men of the crows categories or literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and settlement. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet, with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of dead body. Spiritually advanced men who are compared to the swans or do not take pleasure in such dead literatures. So that's this is the first and foremost point. So that's why one must take up to the superior aspects in life. Priority must be given and give up the inferior. Just like as we use our cell phone. So that was the basic point is what contemplation should be avoided. Contemplation of unwanted things in the inferior aspects, inferior objects must be avoided. It is just like we have WhatsApp, we all have WhatsApp or the cell phone. You have a choice to download or not download. You have a choice. There is option for any, especially pictures, text you cannot avoid, audio, video. There is option whether to yes or no. It will, otherwise it will download everything. Then everything we have to pay attention and you have to watch. Seconds, minutes, days will go by. So this is so that is the inferior aspect. But if we are superior, then we are giving priority. Then we know what to do, what not to do. Same thing. The mind is always giving us alluring different aspects. So that's why when somebody wants to study, those who are not interested in there are different colleges. Those are very good colleges. Those are medium. Those are at lower state, lower grade, lower standard. Those who are not so much interested, they may study anything is okay. They're not so much interested. They just need to pass. So they are not interested. So they are in the inferior category. So they will choose to those. Same way in each and every aspect of life, we can see that. So that's why we have to be, our mind must be giving up our speculation and prioritize and give up our, especially the contemplation of unwanted things. That means hearing. That's why the 7th chapter, when Krishna is talking about para and apara differentiation, knowledge of title itself, knowledge of the absolute, and beginning itself, Lord Krishna is stressing about this hearing. So now we can see that what demigods are saying about this aspect. In the 11th canto, all this just Lord Krishna is about to leave. So that time they are speaking, demigods are speaking. Oh, greatest of all, those whose consciousness is polluted by illusion cannot purify themselves merely by ordinary worship, study of the Vedas, charity, austerity, and ritual activities. Just exactly what this verse is talking about. These demigods are speaking. Our Lord, those pure souls who have developed powerful transcendental faith in your glories, achieve a purified state of existence that can never be attained by those lacking such faith. The purport Prabhupada writes, even if a pure devotee is lacking the above qualifications such as Vedic study and austerity, if he has unflinching faith in Lord Krishna, the Lord will save him because of his devotion. On the other hand, if one becomes falsely proud of one's material qualification, including ordinary piety, but does not devote himself to hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna, the result will be ultimately be nil. So that's a Sudhir Nunam Natu Tadedya Grashayanam Vidya Sruta Adhyayana Dana Tapah Kriyavi Satvatmanam Rushava Te Yasasi Pravruddha Sat Shraddaya Sravana Sambrutaya Yakasya 1160. 11th canto, 6th chapter, verse number 9. Demigods are speaking. So, just before Lord Krishna is about to leave. Now, let's understand from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking about this ultimate conclusion of Vedanta. Bhagavan Prapti Hetu Ye Kari Upay Sravanadi Bhakti Krishna Prapti Rasahai. It is only by devotion service, beginning with hearing, that one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only means to approach Him. So it is only by devotion service. So that's why Krishna consciousness, that is consciousness. But how will you get there? By hearing, starting with hearing. Hearing is so important. So that's why for hearing and also some service, because service comes with its mercy, service comes with its protection, service comes, responsibility also comes with its mercy and protection automatically. So that's why service must be done regularly, consistently. Then automatically, then we want mercy, we want protection. Then where it will come if we don't take up service? We don't. The chanting, what we are saying is asking for service, and we don't want to do service. Then how are we going to? How it is going to help? That means we are not following the instruction. That's what. As much as possible, in certain circumstances we may not be able to do. That's all right. But we should try our best to do at least some service, whatever is convenient, at least possible within our family situation or whatever. But at least we should be eager to do that mentally, and then Lord will arrange the situations. So that's why here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning through hearing process, beginning with hearing. Further, Mahaprabhu is mentioning that Sei Sarva Vedera Abhideya Sadhana Bhakti Haite Haya Premera Udgama Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana Nama Yei Tina Artha Sarva Shastre Sarva Sutre Parya Avastha. Culmination of this is the culmination, Sambandha Abhideya and Prayojana. Establishing our relation with the Supreme Lord, Jiva and Ishvara. That is Sambandha. And Abhideya is practicing of that on that relationship. So that the practice starts with hearing. Hearing, especially Bhagavat with the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We follow Bhagavat with the highest precedence is given. Sravanam and Kirtanam. Rest is later. Pancharatri Vidhi we follow while worshipping the deity, rules and regulations. But that is secondary. Primary is Bhagavat Vidhi. Hearing and chanting. So hearing in the association module is very, very important. So that's why here Mahaprabhu, this is the culmination, Sambandha and Abhideya and Prayojana. Prayojana means ultimately attaining the goal of Krishna Prema. So then this is what Mahaprabhu is speaking here. Now let's look at the examples of, as we are discussing about this Vedic literatures, Vedeshu, what it means. So one time, as we know, Yajnapatnis, when Lord Krishna told the cowherd boys were very hungry, then they instructed Krishna and Balram, Lord Krishna instructed them, go and ask these Brahmana Patnis nearby, they are performing sacrifice, just tell my names, they will give. Then they went there and approached. Then what did they say? We can see that the Brahmanas heard this application from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they refused to take heed. Indeed, they were full of petty desires and entangled in elaborate rituals. Though presuming themselves advanced in Vedic learning, they were actually inexperienced fools. So there it's mentioned, these childish Brahmanas were full of petty desires, such as the desire to attain material heaven, and therefore they could not recognize the golden transcendental opportunity offered them by the arrival of Krishna's personal boyfriend. Presently, throughout the world, people are madly pursuing material advancement, thus cannot hear the message of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna that is being broadcast through the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness movement. The times have oddly changed, and proud and materialistic priests are still prevalent on the earth. Further, not only that, they also, further it is mentioned, although the ingredients of sacrificial performance, the place, time, this is the second aspect, ignorance. Their first one is studying the Vedas. They studied, but they couldn't understand the essence of Vedas. Vedanta is talking about the Sambandha, Vidya and Prayojana. Mahaprabhu is speaking, but here they couldn't understand. And then ignorance coming to sacrifice. And what they are saying, place, time, particular paraphernalia, mantra, ritual, priest, fires, demigod, performer, offering, as that unseen beneficial result are all simply aspects of his opulences. Brahmanas saw Lord Krishna as an ordinary human because of their perverted intelligence. They fail to recognize that he is the supreme absolute truth, the directly manifest personality of Godhead, whom the material senses cannot ordinarily perceive. Thus, bewildered by their false identification with the material mortal body, they did not show him proper respect. Prabhupada was commenting, the ritualistic Brahmanas could not understand why the sacrificial food should be offered to Lord Krishna, whom they considered as an ordinary human being. Just as a person with the rose-colored glasses see the entire world as rose-colored, a conditioned soul with mundane vision sees even God himself as mundane and thus loses the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. And that's why you can see this is like Prabhupada explains, giving example. We are diseased. One who has a disease, he must follow the prescription. So those who have a jaundice disease is supposed to take sugar candy. Until it will be bitter. When he will know that as he takes sugar candy day after day, then when he cures the disease, then the sugar candy will start tasting like a sugar, sweeter and sweeter, and he will come to the natural state. But he must follow the prescription. Same way, Sir Prabhupada is mentioning, if somebody who has actually developed a taste for hearing, taste for association, taste for association of devotee, taste for service, then that means he is actually advancing. That is one sign of advancement. That at least he is developing a taste. If he is not, that means he is still on the beginning stage. So that's why, as it is mentioned here also, this is also indirectly our instruction also. Whenever we do service, prasadam should be given to all. Don't be attached too much to rules. Yes, rules and regulation must be there, must be followed. Smriti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatrika Vidyamana Ekantiki Bhakti Ratpataiva Kalpate. So yes, if you don't follow rules and regulation when you are worshipping Pancharatrika Vidya, deity worship, then it creates a chaos, disturbance. We must follow. That's not a problem. But at the same time, when somebody comes to the temple, we must try to give prasadam. We shouldn't be caught, oh, this is not ready, that is not ready, or you can take it, or this. Yes, you can take after some time, but we should be more willing them to serve. Always, at any cost, somehow or the other, they should be getting something. That everyone, because that's what Prabhupada has told us again and again. So we must be cognizant of this fact, and somehow or the other, we have to arrange something at least. So that way, because otherwise it will be more, we are on that niyam agraha and agraha. We follow things, we do things, but we don't know what is the essence of behind it. So then it's not going to help us to progress. So that is the point also we can understand from these brahmanas, priests who are performing, but they couldn't. But rather the wives of the brahmanas, they could understand clearly because they heard with rapt attention from the beginning of their childhood. By everybody in their village, they're walking by and picking up the water and so many things, and then they're discussing Krishna Katha. They were talking about Krishna's pastime, what Lord Krishna is doing with cohort boys and other pastimes. Then they heard with rapt attention. So when they approach, automatically they are already at a higher stage. They could immediately give up and run from there. One girl, they caught her, and husband or family members, they couldn't let her go. But she also, by being there itself in the house, by mentally being with Krishna, she could attain also the highest destination, attain the Krishna Prema, even by just being that absorption. So that's the way, it's completely opposite. This is one of the example. Then we see also the another example, the Vedic study, how it leads to. One time, we are in Vaivasvata Mantra. There in 9th canto, we see 9.1.17. My Lord, all of you are expert in chanting the Vedic mantras. How then has the result been opposite to the one desired? This is a matter of our lamentation. There should not have been such a reversal of the results of Vedic mantras. This is what is happening is, as Manu, Vaivasvata Manu, also called Sraddha Deva Manu. This is from Vivaswan. So then he didn't have son. So he didn't have any kids that time. Then the priest, instead of chanting one name, one word properly, he chanted something else. Then automatically, then instead of son being born, daughter being born, daughter was born. But Manu was happy. He was not unhappy. But he was looking for son, but still it was all right. So there, that's why Prabhupada is mentioning, In this age, the performance of yajna has been forbidden because no one can properly chant the Vedic mantras. If Vedic mantras are chanted properly, the desire for which a sacrifice is performed must be successful. Therefore, Hare Krishna chant is called Mahamantra, the great exalted mantra above all other Vedic mantras, because simply chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra brings so many beneficial effects. So that we can see from this example also. So that's why we have to understand these aspects and follow this actual Krishna consciousness process of chanting and hearing. Is the very important thing 7th chapter begins with, so that then we will be able to come to the superior aspects. Otherwise, our priority and our activities will be surrounded by the inferior things, not of the superior things. And further, we can see there also in this is also actually 6th chapter. Also, Lord Krishna is making this point, exact point, 6.46. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi japa jnanibhyo api mato adhika karmibhyascha adhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So that means the devotee who was meditating on me, remembering me, is greater than those who are performing austerities, greater than those who are jnanis, is greater than those who are performing fruitive activities. So in this way, Lord Krishna already made this point in 6.46. In the also 11th canto, there is another verse, beautiful verse. There also, this is in Uddhava's conversation. There it is mentioned, Sravanam Kirtanam Dhyanam Harer Adbhuta Karmana Janma Karma Gunanam Cha Tad Adde Akila Chestitam Ishtam Dattam Tapo Japtam Vrittam Chayat Cha Atmana Priyam Dharan Sutan Grahan Pranan Yat Parasmai Nivedanam. One should hear, glorify, and meditate upon the wonderful transcendental activities of the Lord. One should specifically become absorbed in the appearance, activities, qualities, and holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus inspired, one should perform all of one's daily activities as an offering to the Lord. One should perform sacrifice, charity, and penance exclusively for the Lord's satisfaction. Similarly, one should chant only those mantras which glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all one's religious activities should be performed as an offering to the Lord. Whatever one finds pleasing or enjoyable, he should immediately offer to the Supreme Lord. Even his wife, children, home, and very life air, he should offer at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why it is a very here Prabhupada is making, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, tapa austerity means that one should observe vows such as Ekadasi Vrata, in which one fasts from grains and beans twice a month. The word Japta refers to chanting the holy names of the Lord, such as Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further pointed out, one can offer one's wife, children, and home to the Lord by conveying one's family converting one's family into devotees of the Supreme Lord, rather than becoming artificially puffed up into the pursuit of so-called status symbols. One's family should be trained to understand that they are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. And when the entire family becomes dedicated to the Lord's service, a very beautiful situation is created. And the further Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's point is pointing out, if a human being is not initiated into the process of Bhagavad Dharma, he must depend upon the uncertain knowledge derived from his gross material senses. This is what that inferior, apara knowledge, senses, gross material senses, indifferent to the sublime description of the Lord's eternal experience, pastimes, and innumerable transcendental qualities. The faithless materialists wander about on the platform of mundane enjoyment. But if one can understand the reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he described in authorized Vedic literature, then one should accept the order of Tridandi Sannyas, or at least one should practice restraint of the body, mind, and words, and thus become self-controlled and fixed in the absolute. Then all of one's desires, all the charity he gives, his penances, chanting of the mantras, in other words, his entire personality, his home, his children, his wife, and his very life here becomes heartfelt offerings to the Supreme Lord. When a living entity constantly hears the authorized description of the Supreme Lord and dovetails all of his activities in the Lord's service, Avoiding other activities is considered to be fixed on the platform of Bhagavad Dharma. So we can understand from this point how, so otherwise nature's law is very strict. So just forcing. That's why there are so many species of life, because of those who are infected with this inferior, associated with these inferior natures. This duality of happiness, distress, lower modes, lower. So that's why they take up this all other. So not the bhakti, the pure devotion service. So yeah, that's what this verse is indicating. Don't be caught up with this studying so many books, studying so many Vedic literatures, this Veda, that Veda, or fruitive activities, but rather come to the path of pure devotion service. Especially hearing, attentively hear while chanting, and also regularly read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then yajna sacrifices as much as possible, engaging in chanting holy name, japa yajna, and engage others in chanting, and tapas, austerity in performing the Ekadasi, following Ekadasi. Doesn't need to be nirjal. It can be whatever. You can eat 10 times if you want to. That's fine. As long as service. This is the first foremost thing we have to. Whatever way we do Ekadasi, doesn't matter. But service, if service is there, our assigned service, that must be done. No, I am doing nirjal, I cannot do. That means then whatever you are doing is not going to help really. That means we didn't get the essence. The essence is to always do service. Now, how you do it, whether you do with nirjal or not, that you have to see based on your capability. But that service must be done. So accordingly, then we have to follow what we can do, what we cannot do. So that's what tapasya, niyama, agraha and agraha carefully to be understood while performing. Daneshu, charity. And charity also should be done in Krishna conscious activities. Especially the women not supposed to work, but if they work, then they must give at least some percentage. Even men also supposed to give some percentage to Krishna conscious activity. If not, then always this is causing binding, as Krishna is making that point in third chapter itself. So Punya Palam, obviously that's why Krishna is making Vishwanath Chakra, the Baladev Vidya Bhushan is making that final point. With that, I'll stop. The eighth chapter, last verse. Results such as Swarga or a kingdom are promised from thoroughly studying the Vedas while following rules, such as observing celibacy and serving the Guru, from precisely performing sacrifice complete with all parts, from correctly undergoing austerities according to the rules of scripture, and from giving charity in the proper manner with faith while examining the suitability of place, time, and person. But all of these promised results are surpassed by the yogi, my devotee, and that is pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. How does he surpass all this? Knowing the glories of myself and my devotee, as mentioned in chapter 7 and 8. Idam viditva means that's what chapter 7 and 8. By the mercy of devotees association, he considers all those other activities, tat sarvam, all those other as insignificant as grass, devoid of the happiness they promised. So all others except pure devotion. The yogis have become filled with devotion to me, attains my abode, which is without beginning, adhyam, and beyond the illusion of the material world, param. Because in the 8th chapter before, because devotee is not worried, as of almost 7-8 verses are talking about if somebody passes in the light, what will happen, where he will go, fiery planet, and then other planet, and then he will go, you may go to the Brahma Jyoti. Then those who are living in the night or inauspicious time, waning moon, then he will return again to this world. So all these things are mentioned. But for a devotee, he is not worried. The surrendered devotee is not worried at what time, when that if he has practiced enough, then automatically he will be, Lord Krishna will make sure that he will remember him. So that Lord Krishna is assuring that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter after chapter. So that's how, that's why this 8th chapter is a very, 7th and 8th chapter is very, very important. As per the hearing is very important. Thank you very much for patiently hearing. Sandra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktan ki jai. Any corrections, questions, comments? Please share. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, go ahead. Janaki Mataji.
Prabhu, my question is on the part where we are suggesting to perform charity, austerity, and penances, and and the same is in the line of service, correct? We are performing these activities to serve somehow or the other.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and every individual has to determine what sort of penance and austerity they can do based on their circumstance and situations.
Yes, that's correct. Obviously, as we discussed, different kinds of people are at different levels. Some are at ABCD level, some are at degree, some are PhD and postgraduate. So accordingly, they may take up. They may do as 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 16, 17 are discussing in the different one, 18 discussing in different modes how they do charity, how they do the austerity and everything, knowledge and everything. Indeed. So accordingly, they will get the result. But this verse is talking about transfer everything. We don't need to do all these things separately, individually, endeavor so much. Rather, if you do, because that result will be temporary. Rather, if you do the same thing, even one person, teeny bit, that will save you from the greatest danger. At least you will get human birth and you will continue where you left off. So, Lord Krishna is promising that you'll be born in a pious family and you'll continue your bhakti process. Suchanam Srimatam Yoga Brasta Vijayate in 6th chapter. So that is the advantage. You can do, means nobody is denying anybody to do whatever charity and austerity they want to feed poor people, and that also they can do. Prabhupada is commenting that in Prutu's performance in 6th canto, one place. Yes, people has come up with Daridra Narayana and Swami Narayana. This is nowhere in Vedic scriptures. Yes, they can do that, but it's not going to result. This is speculation. This is not based on the authorized scriptures. This is not based on the sadhu and shastra and guru. This they have come up by their own ideas and thoughts. So,
Prabhuji, feeding the poor and performing those sort of charity is not recommended. Feeding the poor or educating the people who cannot afford education.
If you do, then basically you are saving the external body. Rather, it can be done. We are not denying it can be done, but they must be rather supplemented with transcendental knowledge. When you are giving, you must give Bhagavad Gita also. You must educate them. You must give them prasadam, whatever related transcendental, so that they understand the value. Otherwise, they will value maybe 10 years, 20 years, or maybe few years, and they will forget. And actually, what is the essence? They're not. You are saving this life. Then next life, who is going to save? We don't even know what birth and what is going to become, what we are going to become. Then how is it really helping? Actually, it is not traversing the permanent path. It's temporarily you are helping. That's all for time being. But Lord Krishna is taking care of every living entity. So every life, not just this life. So, but at the same time, we are not saying that. So Prabhupada, nobody is saying that you shouldn't help other person. Yes, we are here to help, but not just help inferior, gross body, subtle body, but rather help the actual soul. And along with that, as basic necessities also need, yes, along with that, if you want help, that's fine. But if you neglect the actual superior thing and keep on pushing towards the inferior thing, then it just doesn't really help. So it just worsens the situation. So you'll never get it, basically. So this life also, you are forcing him to be in under that same mold. You're not really pulling him out from that science and ignorance. So that is the challenge. That's why Prabhupada, you can see in Mayapur and many places, in all over the world, Prabhupada said 10-mile radius, especially Mayapur specifically, he told, always distribute prasadam. And every center, Prabhupada told, never should anybody go without prasadam. This is always, Prabhupada has encouraged that and told clearly. So that's why
Mhm.
we should be cognizant and always try to distribute prasad and white. So that is so that in that way we are always doing that. Throughout the world, ISKCON is distributing so much prasadam.
And Prabhuji, how can one evaluate their own level of service, like in terms of austerity or charity or anything? Let's say my level is at A and somebody else's level is at A plus some number. So how can I, as an individual or practicing devotee, can evaluate that?
Yeah, but we don't need to evaluate anybody's qualification. Every individual
No,
has
my
their own.
my my own. Let's say my own. How will I be able to evaluate that, Prabhu?
Yeah, that you have to evaluate based on the under the supervision of a spiritual master and advanced devotees. And Bhagavad Gita you can clearly see, but you cannot speculate. Verse says something and we speculate something else. Then that's why we should be guided under the advanced devotee and spiritual master. And they say 16, 17, 18 chapter, last three chapters clearly indicating for each of these aspects, austerity or charity, everything clearly what in what mode we have, what is the result.
Mm.
So characteristics are being given accordingly. We will know whether we are doing right or not. We are expecting result and we are doing charity, or we are doing charity without understanding the actual basis of the scripture. We are just simply giving, so without knowing what happens and
Mm.
what it is. Pious or impious or actual, it's Krishna conscious. Karma or vikarma, what it is. You give it to somebody is Prabhupada also given one time that yeah, if you are hearing like somebody is playing the music and you are getting something benefit, then you give something. That also Prabhupada gave few cents to somebody because he heard music, he was playing some music. Then Prabhupada said, okay, Prabhupada gave. Everybody thought, no, Prabhupada is not going to give. A few occasions like that Prabhupada showed. But anyway, so I had to run actually. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Thank you,
anybody else
Prabhuji.
has questions, you can text or we can discuss later. I have to run. I'm already late. So I have some other
Thank you,
engagement.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Broji. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a
Hare
wonderful
Krishna.
Jai. So,
Thank
dear
you, Prabhu.
devotees,
I had to
Hare
run. Sorry. I had
Krishna.
to leave. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripasindhu bhyo patitanam pavanebhyo
Padidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo.
namo namo. From the key jai.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shamananda Prabhu and the devotees. Few announcements. Yes, we are still on the book distribution marathon, and we would humbly request everybody please engage in the service of Srila Prabhupada and the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Supreme Lord. Humbly request everybody please at least call out or at least distribute some books during these coming weeks. So we'll be distributing till January 7th, January 15th, mid of January. I think we have to give our score, our ISKCON of Central New Jersey score back to Vaisheshika Prabhu and our global team by January 7th. So in few years back, we were on the, in the first list of first 10. So this year also we should be, come on the top. So we'd humbly request everybody. So sometimes we feel that why we need to set up like this, Yes, needed. Actually, we need to put our all efforts to serve Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is pleased the most when the book distribution scores are up. So thank you. Please engage. Please call out. Please go out. There are so many Bhakti based book distribution team on, region wise. So please join with one of those teams. This way we can distribute, Srila Prabhupada's books. It's a wonderful and amazing service. And I think those who are already in the book distribution service, they can tell a lot that how it feels that if you distribute a book to others. It's so wonderful. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Anybody else has anything to add? Any other concerns? before we conclude?
Prabhu, I just wanted to check. Maybe I can check this offline regarding the calling from the list that we had distributed.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was if we have any sort of an idea as to how we are doing as
I
far
didn't
as
understand.
calling goes.
I didn't understand your question. That means is everybody's calling?
Mm,
Calling? Is that your
yeah,
question?
yeah.
Yeah, I think yes. Yes, pretty much everybody's trying their level best, and yes, I mean, I heard from a few devotees that they are calling the people.
Mm, okay, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's all, Prabhu. Thank you.
yeah, wonderful. Anything else? Anybody? Otherwise, let's conclude today's session. Let's say Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Andara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Pad ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananda Godi Vaishnavrinda ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaura Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna.